when we're doing this. That's the thing.
That's true.
Barry and Christine never want to leave their podcast.
No, we love doing it because we know that people are going to benefit from it. So, of course, we'll keep doing it.
Of course, we'll keep doing it. Never leave, ever, ever, ever. Well, hi, this is Barry and Christine, and let's talk about dating. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine. It's going to have some fun today. Another good show topic to talk about.
I know.
Mm.
How do you know when it's time to leave?
Yes. And, of course, this was inspired from last week's show, because last week's show was about, are you afraid of commitment? Excuse me. Are they afraid of commitment, or is it really you?
Uh-huh.
And the thing is, it's funny because when I thought about this topic this week about when is it time to leave, the question really underneath it is, when are you going to commit to yourself? So it's actually the same thing as last week, but a different perspective about, in a relationship, have you always committed to yourself whilst you're in that relationship, which could be a whole can of worms,
A whole other topic we got. Yeah, and it was so funny how I found this, maybe you have too, that we come up with a subject the week before, and then we've percolated about it during the week, and then it keeps popping up in my coaching calls. You have that too? I'm like, wow.
And social media too, and just it's almost like, because we're looking through the lens, I think, what's going on.
Yeah.
So we see, it's like that's the challenge about being in the coaching position or the observer position. We start to see what we're thinking about out there. Like, see, I know I'm talking about the right thing.
Lots of assurance. We're talking about timely things, right? I know. When I tell people, I want you to start noticing that men are really nice and they're out there wanting to do things for you. And they're like, I said, okay, then we'll try blue cars. Notice blue cars for a week. And there's all these blue cars if you're not really paying attention. So then when I finally get them to notice, they go, really, there are lots of nice men and they do really want to do things for me. I go, yeah, they really do. So yeah, when we're thinking about, is it time to leave? Oh my gosh, there's so many things that come up on news and on TV shows, and certainly on the other end of the phone on my coaching calls. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is how deep you want to go with this, because a lot of people are also choosing relationships from a very surface perspective. I mean, living in LA. I mean, you're Orange County, but living in LA, especially the look and appearance is more important than the content.
Yeah.
And so, that's another piece, because that's the other side about people who are too scared. We're going back to last week's topic again. And afraid to commit because I think they're not finding the depth they want. So let's talk about the other side, when it's time to leave.
Yes. And first, why are you staying? That was what I thought might be a really good place to start with this.
Yeah.
Because you can't decide if you're going to leave if you're not really clear about why you're staying. I think that's a big, important step, actually. I think it's a integral part of the decision making. Maybe not the only thing for sure, but how can you not include that as part of it?
Well, yeah, in terms of looking at it from the perspective, is it enough to keep you there? It's the second part of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and some people stay because it's better than nothing. They don't want to give up again. They don't want to go back to dating again. I mean, I'm not saying these are the greatest, healthiest reasons to stay, and people stay for all those reasons for sure.
Absolutely. Oh, the reasons. There's a gamut of reasons. I have one I'll share about my own history that was like a shameful one to admit to, but I'll leave that one as a teaser for a bit later in the conversation.
Well, you're such a tease.
But that's the thing, is that a lot of times in a relationship, it's kind of like, in some ways, it's like, are you finished flogging a dead horse? There's this mindset about you got to keep it persisting, because there's something about that. Because I know one of the things that comes up, and this is another one of mine, was this fear of failure. Like, if I left the relationship, somehow I failed. Therefore, I'd rather stay, even though it sucks or it doesn't work. Because if I left, somehow I'd be failing. Yes,
or giving up. I'm giving up when there was more to do. There was more to try. Yeah.
And of course, living under the auspices of religious teaching in weddings about, till death do you part.
Yeah.
If you depart before you're dead, you screwed up somehow.
Yeah.
And of course, that's a deeper one people don't think about, because they're going, yeah, I said that 25 years ago. Is it still true?
Yeah. I think I mentioned I love asking couples that have been married for a really long time what's gotten them through. And I've only had it happen a couple of times, but very bitterly, they've explained to me that they had made that commitment till death do you part. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure I want to continue this conversation, because it wasn't the kind of information I was looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my parents did that because my mom passed away in 2012, and that was the thing. My dad has never had any desire for anybody else. You know, although I mean, he's getting near the end now. He's 94 and in nursing home, and he's having some respiratory issues for the last couple of days. And they've had the COVID shots. So it's not that, but like his body's giving up. He's not choosing what. Even watching TV is a hard work for him now.
Oh,
So I think it's coming to that time.
hard.
But that thing about that, some people look at it and go, "It's true love. They were together 60 years. It's so wonderful." It's like, yes, and.
Yeah.
I mean, there was definitely one point in my parents' marriage where it was almost the point where he was going to get kicked out. Like he crossed a line that he shouldn't have crossed.
Wow.
And my mom was like, I could feel it. That the dragon reared up. Like she was like, I'm taking the kids and leaving was coming up for her. I could feel it. And I was probably 12. I was young. I think it was early teens at the time. My brother was 4 years younger than me. And I felt that sort of, and this is more hindsight than at the time because I had no clue at that age. But my hindsight, I look back at it and I go, this could be a parting of the way, so to speak. And in my family heritage, I'm looking back at my father's mother did have a divorce. But I'm thinking, scanning through all my other relatives, I don't remember any of my uncles, aunts, or grandparents on the other side. None got divorced. They all got married till one of them passed away.
Everybody in my family got divorced. I mean,
wow.
My parents did, my grandparents did, all my grandparents did. Isn't that wild?
Wow.
I know. And when my parents got divorced, we all thought it was a big relief because we were tired of them fighting all the time. They say it's going to be so hard on the kids. I mean, certainly there probably were some, but generally we all three agreed that it was the best thing that could have ever happened because then we got to see them when they were in a much better mood when they weren't together. They were so bad together. Yeah.
Well, because marriage is not the cure-all.
No.
Which some people look at it as like, when the relationship's going badly, let's get married to fix it. Like, no, it's not always the right choice.
No, I think that often makes things worse. If you're not doing well in the beginning, getting married just makes things worse, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. So that's a big piece too that you think. So if you think about why are you staying? What's the good reason to stay? And, we generally are talking about people that are getting in relationships, not necessarily married, could be. Certainly in the early part of dating, maybe the first 6 months or so, because you're getting to know each other a little better. You've seen maybe more sides of each other, not always the best foot forward person. And what do you think of that part? And so often what I have found, more for women, you could certainly give me your perspective. We think you're going to change. If we're nicer and smarter and just say the right thing, you're going to stop being this thing or things that are really not a match for us.
Right.
And we keep staying believing, well, if I just knew the magic formula, he'll stop being him. And it's who he is. It's really who he is. And it might not be a horrible thing. It's just not good for you.
Right.
So he needs to stay that way and find somebody that thinks he's lovely as that. And if he's not a lovely person, then why are you staying with him anyway? But you think you can change him. So I watched your face. So you've experienced
I mean, definitely from clients. I mean, my own history, I looked at that too. So dropping that thing I was holding on to about that sort of reason for leaving or reason why I should have left is I remember a couple of relationships. I had this thing inside that if I left the relationship, I had somehow failed.
Oh.
So I actually did it where so my ego made sure they would leave first, so that way I wouldn't feel like I failed. It was really messy. It wasn't pretty.
No, I mean that's a really backwards way, as my dad would have put it.
Let's just say I hadn't done any work at this point. early 20s, naive, and the wiring was definitely such because again, coming from a family dynamic, my parents, they were married. My mother passed away in 2012, so I was well past my 20s by that point. The image I had was if I was in a relationship, I couldn't leave it because that would break the paradigm I had of what relationship looked like. I mean, I talk about our history and how we learn about relationships from our parents, the model they have, not even consciously. We don't take notes. It's just built in, like a sponge. We take it on. And my parents being together all that way through, I had this wiring that when I fell in love, it had to be the same thing. It had to be like fall in love, get engaged, get married, have kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way. So when I was in a relationship and it wasn't working out, I couldn't leave it because I would violate that belief.
Yeah.
So I had to, and it wasn't pretty, give them a reason to leave. So that way I'd be safe.
Because it wasn't your responsibility. It wasn't your fault. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, looking back and go, damn, I should have man up and say, I'm out. It doesn't work. I'm not doing it right. Not saying who was at fault for it, but I made it such that they were so uncomfortable they had to leave. I'd be so, non-compliant or non-communicative, or it's almost like playing dead. It wasn't pretty.
So I'll call myself out, and I don't know that I know I've told the story, but I'm not sure I've told the story in our podcast. Very early on in my dating, I went out with this very nice man who was working really hard to please me. And I was in some pissy mood, and I'd invited him for dinner, and he was a little late, like 20 minutes late or 25 minutes late. And we didn't have cell phones then. So he just got there when he got there. And he was so apologetic, and he had hit traffic. And in my most snotty, haughty, oh my gosh, voice that I'm not even capable of any longer, I said, "That's one."
Ooh.
He said,
keeping score. Ooh.
"One what?" I know. I'm so embarrassed. It's one of those, I've said I really should do the 12-step program where I go back and I would so apologize to him. He said, he was startled. He said, "One what?" And I said, "Well, that was really a horrible, awful thing for you to do, that you were late." And he goes, "There was traffic." And I said, "Well, don't let there be." I then said, "Don't let there be a two." He didn't ask me out again. I know. But
the innocence of youth.
It made him leave me before I had to leave him.
Right.
So I'm sure it had some of that same part of it, where we're so messy when we aren't honest about how are we feeling and how is the relationship going, and do you really like spending time with them, and are you getting important, valuable, positive things from this relationship, or are you marking time, or is it just better than nothing? Yeah, because we're just so passive aggressive, and I know I don't like throwing out a lot of but that was it really was like, let's just the definition of how yucky to treat some innocent person who was not he did nothing wrong. There was nothing wrong, and I made it all about him.
Well, that's the thing is that because we do carry these things about being the right person. We're right, and we do things properly, and we do these things. So when we choose a relationship, there's some part of us, I believe, that has wiring like we're not the people who make the wrong choice. So therefore, if it doesn't work out, it must be them, not us.
Yes.
That's one of those things we carry. I mean, a lot of us carry the other way around, where we go, no, it must be me, not them.
Yes. Yes.
So either way, we're losing.
Yes.
Because the reality is, when you meet somebody, you don't know who that person is until you've been with them even for a few times. Because the thing is, that love at first sight thing is a possibility. You can fall in love with somebody right from the get-go. It doesn't mean you can actually last in a relationship with them. You could love them at first sight, going, wow, they're amazing, that's a perfect person. But 3 months later, you go, we shouldn't be together.
Mm-hmm.
So recognizing either side of it, where you don't know if you're the right person or the wrong person, forget all about that. Mm-hmm. It's just not a match.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that's the I'd say mature way of doing it.
When we all get grown up.
Right.
Who do we want to be when we're grown up? I want to be that. Yeah.
I wish I'd learned a lot younger. It would have saved a lot of pain.
I know, because we are capable of doing that now, which is how we teach it to people.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so fascinating to look at when you don't know what you really need and want in another person. Mm-hmm. You really are floundering around. Well, do I like that? Do I not like that? My favorite thing is, my mom used to say, pay attention to the thing you don't like, because it will get huge later.
That is such a profound statement.
Oh, she had lots of very, very, I've talked about how direct she was. Lots of the direct things that came out of her mouth were very helpful. Some hurtful too. And that was so helpful, because I really paid attention to that. And I've continued paying attention to my whole life, because I thought, Oh, because in the bloom and the excitement and the hormone and the chemistry, oh yeah, that's no big thing.
Right.
And but what Dr. Laura, when I listen to her, she goes, between now and dead, is this how you want to live? Do you want to live like this? Is that a profound thing to say? I mean,
It's
that's
very
really,
effective because it's like
it
it's kind of like,
is.
whoa, let me see that clearly. So it really works.
So when you're deciding about, first we'll talk about to get in a relationship with somebody, and then we'll talk about the reasons to leave, to be really clear about, am I feeling better every time I'm with them? Am I learning more? Even if you go through something hard, did you learn? Did you feel more capable afterwards? Did you feel like you communicated with each other better? Did each of you go, wow, I didn't realize I said that thing that hurt your feelings. How can I have that not happen again? Or, wow, I guess I was being really extra sensitive about that. It must have been from a previous relationship. Sorry, I overreacted. I mean, that's the point of when you're getting to know each other, to see, can you be your real self? Can you be open and vulnerable? I've had this whole week has been about vulnerability. I've had more people go listen to that Brene Brown vulnerability TED talk. I mean, they're all coming back going, that's a really good talk. Do you know what she did? And I think it's in that talk where she talks about, it's so funny. She says, I've been talking about vulnerability forever. I'm a college professor and I've interviewed all these people and done all these tests and graphs. So I decided I needed a little therapy. And I went to my therapist with my spreadsheet and I said, okay, this column, I'm happy talking about these things. And all these things over here, we're not talking about. And the therapist went, oh, yeah, that's not going to work. Because she didn't want to talk about her own personal vulnerability.
Exactly.
I loved that. So if
Vulnerability doesn't have a container.
No. He was trying really hard when it came to her.
Yep.
She could be all messy with everybody else, but when it came to Brene, she's like, no, me talk about vulnerability about me. She called herself out.
Don't look over here. Just talk about this.
Like the Wizard of Oz, don't look behind the curtain, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So to think about as you're getting to know somebody, can you be your real self? Can you be your authentic self? Can you just not just blah, because that's what I did when I did that's one. That was so not me being my best self.
Right.
But can you just be your best self? I mean, that was the most attractive thing when I met my late husband, was I never didn't feel like my best self. I could be me all the time. It was freeing and refreshing and exciting, because I had certainly gotten myself in a number of relationships where I was so not me. I twisted myself into a pretzel. I was completely different than my real self. It feels awful.
Oh yeah. I was talking about this it's actually, I think it's a Clubhouse room I was in, that new app that's out, but for the audio conversations. And talking about the one of the things, and I've said this before in other talks, is that the thing about dating is that people have this rule about, and I think it's changing because of COVID and everything else, where their first date had to be like the evening dinner over candles or whatever at a restaurant, their fancy dinner. So everyone's on their best behavior. You're all dressed up, best behavior. Yeah. Well, it's all downhill from there in some ways. So wouldn't it be better, and that's what I recommend to my clients, and even though people argue with me on the conversation, I said, no, I believe this, is it's important when you meet somebody, have a pre-date, so to speak. Go out somewhere socially in the daylight hours so you can see each other clearly. When it's casual, not dressed up, so see what they look like when they're themselves. Something cheap, so there's no big investment where you're going to be like, I have to put out something or do something because so much money was spent on it, like ice cream, coffee, something like that. And also in a very public place, because for ladies especially, you want to have a back door to get out if you need to. So that idea means when you get to meet somebody, you go, okay, independent of the relationship, independent of the restaurant and the money spent and the champagne and everything else, or whatever it is you have for dinner, I like this person, I get to know them better, then go on a real date. We can have romance and fun and play and flirt and everything else.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, most people don't start that way. They start at the top and they work their way down, it seems. You go meet a person at the highest possible pinnacle, and then you're just slowly just descending down into, sitting on the couch in sweats eating pizza.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking that physically, but it's like energetically, emotionally, the same thing happens. You're being so attentive and listening on the first date, but then 3 months in, you don't remember a word they're saying. So that time to leave is also about, what are you putting into the relationship and what relationship are you expecting along the way?
Expecting. Your expectations are so important.
Oh, yeah.
And how realistic are they?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And The other thing that I think people forget is, would you date you? If you look at this list of all the things that this person you would like them to be, are you those? Are you punctual? Are you attentive? Are you open? Are you honest? Do you tell the truth? Did you lie on your profile? Are you somebody who will talk about what's really going on in your life? Are you somebody that will listen to what's happening because they're always, I want somebody that's a good listener. Well, how good of a listener are you?
Yeah, is it one-way street? You just want somebody to listen to you just spout all the time? It's like, maybe you want to have a two-way street.
I saw an interview once with Bette Midler, and she said one of the biggest adjustments she found when she got married was she's supposed to let him talk some of the time. Does that just sound like her? I thought it was so funny. She goes, yeah, I had to let him talk sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, that's the thing, is that a lot of times what people look for in a relationship is for all the things they're not themselves.
Yes.
Which means that you're looking basically for someone who's going to like what you are, which may not be as good as you think it is.
Yes. Yes.
So, oh God, that's,
whole nother subject.
Yes, I think we've got like topics for the next 2 months. Yeah, we have.
Do you know honestly who you are?
So now we've got topics for the rest of the month. We're good for topics the rest of the month now. So we have to review this video and go, oh, that's a topic. That's a topic.
Yeah, we have all of March taken care of.
Yeah. So getting back to the topic.
Thinking about why you would want to stay. Why would you want to stay? What are the good reasons? What are the good things? Because if you're there, you're hoping there are good things. And even if there's good things, that doesn't mean that you stay with that one. That just means those are the good things that you want at the next one. Because I tell people, if you really acknowledge, I have found for me and for my clients that if you've raised the bar and you've now met somebody that has more of the positive things you want, and there's some things that just really aren't going to work, yay. That means your vibrations are bringing in the right things. You just haven't gotten the other things yet. But you're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You have improved. You have improved your criteria. You've improved your attraction. You've improved what you're attracted to. If you've done that, that's worth having just spent the time with that last person. So then it's like you don't have to hold on like for dear life to this person that's not working.
And that's a piece of the puzzle, is to really get clear about what you do want. I mean, both of us with our clients, to get clear about what your vision, your intention, your desire in the relationship is. The thing is that it is also the place where you go into a relationship, and I know this happened to me, happened to other people, and certainly my clients have done this, where they said, I had all the things I want to have in a relationship, and then I got into this relationship, and then these two were missing. But I had 3 of them.
Yeah.
So I was going to stay. It's like, are you sure about that?
Yeah.
So the recognition
these are important.
Yeah, it's like, but you were clear you want all 5, but you met this person, they really fulfilled you to the certain point that these 3 were okay, but that was enough.
No.
So then it comes back to, and again, I mentioned at the beginning about how sometimes the choosing to leave is really about commitment to yourself. Is that, are you committed to what you really want? And that's one of the biggest pieces in this work with my clients has really been, is really helping them to learn how to commit to themselves, so they step up their own self-evaluation and valuing of who they are, so they choose better in their relationships.
Yes. 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 Owning your value.
Yeah.
Oh, so essential. And I know for me, when I've stayed in relationships that weren't right for me, I did feel less valued to myself, not only just from them.
Oh yeah, and for me, and I mean, apart from that period of my life where I was overstaying my welcome because I didn't want to leave. That's another conversation.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, I did have relationships where I really knew when it's time to leave, and I didn't honor that internal. It's like, so when it's the right time as well, when you listen internally, and you also notice how the quality of relationship has no longer the same as it was a month ago, a year ago, 6 months, 6 years ago.
Staying too long at the fair, as they have said in colloquial times. So we're going to talk about that, about how to know when to leave and how to leave when we get back from our break.
Indeed.
We're back. That was
quick.
beautiful music.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Very restful.
Yeah. Yeah. In the middle of our day, it's kind of nice, huh?
Yeah.
So we're talking about how to know when to leave.
Mm-hmm.
We're really going to dig into that in the second half. So we've alluded to it a couple of times. When you feel less than yourself, when you feel badly, when you dread having conversations with that person, when you feel worse or less energy or depleted after you've spent time with them.
Yeah.
And then even a little twist on it, because I've had a couple of them this week, that they're so bereft when they leave them. The relationship is so consuming because they're trying so hard that they're exhausted and weepy when they are gone from them. And I'm thinking, and that's a good thing? I don't think that's a good thing.
Well, some people tie emotion to love, which is a false expectation for a start.
Yes.
But the other part of that also is that somehow they feel that they've been so void of any emotional expression when on their own, that being in a relationship at least taps into places inside themselves they can feel again.
Yes.
So to a degree, that's understandable. But at the same time, when you overdo it or overwhelm, then not so much.
No. Yeah. I'm a feeler.
Me too.
I'm very, we both are very the feely people.
Mm-hmm.
Got feels about stuff. And it's nice to feel. And you want to be with somebody that you have feelings for and feelings about and feelings when you're with them. And it can't be overwhelming.
Right.
I don't think that that's healthy. And certainly not in the very beginning, because we just get carried away and we don't stay in our bodies. We don't stay in our centered self and bring our best self to this person. Because what I hope to do when I bring my best self there is that they're going to then bring their best self, and we see how our best selves get along.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That huge emotion can sometimes be a big red flag.
But that's the thing also is that, as I said before about being on the first date, everything's perfect, and then it goes downhill from there. Is I would almost say being your best self is good, but being your authentic self is even more useful.
Yes,
that's
I
the
mean,
thing. So, yeah, I was going to say, because I felt like what you meant was that, because that's really where the true authentic, where the power is. Because if you're going to be with somebody day in, day out, to be on your best behavior is not the way of a healthy relationship. You want to be true to yourself. The other thing I want to say on that also is about being when it's time to leave. Is for some people, they choose to leave, and I did this as well, when the going gets rough.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about this, we're not talking about where there's challenges because you have to face some of your own demons in that relationship. So you want to bail and leave before it gets dark and deeper. We're talking about when you basically have somebody who you've had repeatedly challenged with, where they don't respect you, or you don't get to communicate, they don't listen to you, they don't open up to you, whatever those things are that are perpetually not working for you.
Yeah.
That's where the clues come in. Now, everyone has their own scale about perpetual means more than 3 times or means more than 100 times. There's obviously a different range in that.
Yeah.
But really it's about, again, back to being authentic, is when you know internally, and I knew this many times in past relationships that ended badly. I knew before it happened it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most of the time. Sometimes, most of the time I knew. To be clear. And so that recognition is that if you're leaving too early, you'll recognize, oh, I didn't give it its full possibility. I wasn't willing to face my own history when this person brought it up as a sidebar. It wasn't even they did intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's time to leave, it's not just at the first blush you go, okay, I'm out, bye. That's your own issue then you're dealing with.
Yes.
And we can help you with that too.
Fear of commitment we talked about last week.
Exactly.
And conversely, if the same issue keeps coming up and you're really working on it, and the other person's like, yeah, no, can't talk about it. oh yeah, no, that's too hard, or I'm going to keep avoiding it. If you do that a few times and there keeps being this roadblock, because I believe that we bring people into our lives to tap on something that it's really important for us to work on.
Oh yeah.
Both,
Yeah.
I finally said, oh, okay, bring it on. What's the next thing? Because I always gain so much. So you each have this chance, and whether it's the same issue, which is cracks me up when I have clients that they have somebody that they've both got the same thing, or it's different things that you really have good strengths that would help the other person. And only one person's really willing to work. Okay, get something out of it. You've now really gotten clear about, I want to work on this issue, and this is really important to me. And oh darn, I did find somebody that I see that they could be really helpful, and they're really like, okay, let's fix you. They don't want to talk about their things that are happening on their side. And you've really given it a try. So 3 months, 6 months.
Well, the thing is, you're starting to fall in love with their potential again. So you got to be careful with that.
Oh yeah. Well,
that one. Well, that's a different topic, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really, that is such a pivot. Oh, that's such a pivotal point, because the point is you're working on you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to keep staying on this side of the fence. It's your side of the fence that you're working on. You're not doing it for them.
Right.
And is it somebody that you could get something from? You know, it's a really important dance, but that you are clear that you're working on your stuff. Yes. Yeah. You don't want to get caught up in the potential.
No, and you can be there for them if they're looking to do the work. But the thing about it, as we said, it's like, that's the thing about being the work we're doing. It's vital when either one of us are in a relationship, is that we make sure our partner who's got stuff coming up goes to see somebody else as a therapist, not us.
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to be, no, I don't want to even be their coach. I tell them I'm leaving my coachy hat outside. If I'm on date, I do not want to be your coach.
I have, that's a messy one. Yeah. So
I can watch all those thoughts go across your face. Oh, it's hard. It's really a challenge, because they'll sometimes ask, and I'm like, I don't want to do that on a date. I want to be being a girl.
And the danger is that we are good at seeing stuff when it shows up.
Yes. Yeah.
And to be honest, just to be fully transparent, my dating life is interesting because I see stuff that I probably shouldn't see, but it's like, I can't help it. It's my skill set.
Well, they always tease me, am I a mind reader? Can I really read what's in mind?
No, it's right here in front of me.
I know. You're being very transparent. You just don't know it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, clear that, just because of where I am in my life, I need to be with somebody who's done enough their own work. I've been on this path for many years. It does make the dating pool smaller, but I also know that I'm not just going to date for the fun of it. I want to date with somebody who's done their work so we can play together. Otherwise, leaving is very easy in that sense.
Much easier, right? Much easier. Yeah. And yeah, it's easier for us. That is one of the things I really can do. I can suss out if they've done some work, or they're middle of working and they're really willing to keep going with their work. So important to me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like air and water to me. I'm sure that
exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why it's important, as you do as well with your clients, is that with my clients, is get clear about what it is you really do want. What are those 5 things that you will not give up? Any one of them. Or 10 of them, whatever that list is for you. So you know when you meet somebody and they don't meet those criteria, you go, thank you, but no.
Yes.
Then it's a healthy choice.
Come to us and they're in a relationship that's challenging. Let's get clear. What are those 5 things? What are they? And are you getting them?
Right.
Can you get them? Because sometimes it's that they haven't known how to ask a different way or talk a different way. So I don't want them to just throw it out right away unless it's abusive. I mean, that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, right.
But somebody who's genuinely a good person might not be a match, but you haven't given them the best shot. That's what I find. You need to give you and them the best shot possible. So, but first you need to get clear. If you don't even know what you need and want, how can you judge if you're in the right place?
Absolutely.
And then when you've given them the best shot, and then I always get, but I love him. How many times have you heard that? And it does tug at my heart. I do get that. So sorry, hun. They're just never going to be the right person.
Well, the thing is,
never going to be.
The problem is what they're doing is they're saying, I love him, but.
Yes. If only.
If only. Right. And the but, as they say in the conversation, but negates everything that came before it. So do you really love them?
No.
So that's the thing again, is being clear what you really want in a relationship. And also the other part, which you alluded to, is that have you actually asked for what you want if they hadn't already given it to you?
Yes. Yes. I am, one of the big things I talk about is how unfair it is to get mad at someone for doing something they didn't know they weren't supposed to do or they were supposed to do. It is
Right.
unfair. So first you have to get clear, both the man and the woman, what do you really have to have?
Right.
And have you clearly articulated it to the other person in a way that they can say, yeah, I could do that, or no, I can't do that. Because generally people know if they're being honest, which we're hoping, you're getting, you can now be honest with them and ask them for an honest, and that you're not going to fall apart because of their answer. Because generally most people are kind and they don't want to hurt people's feelings, and that's why they don't tell the truth. So if you say, I really do want to hear the truth and I'm going to be a grown-up person, I don't do big girl pants, I do Wonder Woman boots. In my power.
I like that. Oh, that's much better. Yes.
That's she's my favorite. So I put on my Wonder Woman boots and I say, please tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I'm going to not fall over. I'm not going to get mad at you. I might be disappointed. Nobody dies from disappointment. And I know you don't want to hurt my feelings. I really need you to tell me honestly. So I was telling somebody this the other day that I had dated this guy for a whole year. And we had talked a little bit about retiring and future and stuff. And then all of a sudden, when he got a bug in his ear that the way he was going to retire is he wanted to move an hour away from everything, an hour away from an airport, an hour away from a grocery store. And I said, have you met me? You live in San Clemente. You work in downtown Laguna. I am a social person. I like all this social. I like that I live between two Targets. I live within walking distance of a grocery store. I am a city girl. This is how I can't imagine living. And he was so surprised. And I thought, did we not talk about this? I thought we talked about this. He'd made up in his head because he had been working all this time and it had just gotten him down that he would go live in this forest an hour away from everything where you had to have 4-wheel drive and that I'd be okay coming. And I said, I just can't. It was a definite deal breaker.
Oh yeah. I mean, a couple of things. One is, by the way, sidebar we said about being hopefully that they know what you're thinking before you even think it.
Yeah.
One of those 5. I mean, we're saying 5, but it's only metaphoric. It might be more than 5.
Yeah.
But those must-haves probably shouldn't include mind reading because it's a very, very rare skill.
And we women are convinced you men can read our minds. We're very convinced.
Oh God, yeah. Please give us a break.
Please forget that. Yes.
But the other thing also is one of those things on my list is one of the experience too. Is it's interesting when I meet somebody who love him and live with him are two different things. Yes, it's very true.
Very true. Thank you. That is such a good point. Thank you.
The thing is, in case people have watches never figured out I'm not from America, because some people
charming American accent. Yeah.
Right. But I'm originally from England. I lived in 3 other countries before I came here, so I've had a lot of time. I have a passport. I have traveled, everything like that. And to be with somebody who's never traveled more than 10 miles from where they were born and raised,
no,
that doesn't work for me.
No,
because I want somebody because it's not only the fact that it doesn't mean we've got to travel all the time, but it's about worldview.
Yeah.
And I've become clear, and yes, I have a benefit of coming from another country to see through a different lens. But when I meet somebody who has never seen through the eyes of anything besides their own immediate circle of friends, they're lacking some life experience that I personally think must be there for my partner. So those sort of things are definitely things you want to have on your list of criteria. Like you're saying about, you're a city girl. So your criteria must involve access to things that you want to get to.
Yes.
And a 4-wheel drive is not the access point you're looking for as a requirement. I
like going out in the desert on a 4-wheel drive. I don't want to use it to go to the grocery store.
Yeah. Living versus traveling and visiting are 2 different things. 3 different things. Yes.
Like loving him and living with them. Yes.
Exactly.
They really are. Just because you love them doesn't mean you could live with them.
I've learned that one myself.
The day to day, because I would wither up.
Mm-hmm.
I know me. This Zooming thing has been really a challenge for me because I like in person. I've been taking this virtual college class. I was looking forward to the opportunity of being in a room with a whole bunch of students and seeing the teacher. So I know I'm really clear about who I am and what I can't do and what I can do. And it's in my list of things that I have to have that I would be very expressive to a man about. Mm-hmm.
So really what we're saying is about when it's time to leave, is to really know before you can go in what it is you really want and who you really are. I mean, these are foundation. I mean, we talk in many different ways and different flavors, but the ultimate thing is to know, especially when you're single, is who are you really? So you know when you're in a relationship, who you want to be with and who you are in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Who do you want to be in the relationship is so good. I like that.
Exactly. Thank you. So when you're clear about that, if you don't get it, then you know it's time to leave.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah. One of the reasons way I put it is that you have a manual inside of you. It's like an operating manual. And one of the pages in me is I'm a social creature.
Mm-hmm.
I like having friends. I'm very happy to sit at home alone and, watch Netflix and read and be quiet. I have to have the balance. There's people who could live in the woods and be quiet all the time. It's just not me. I would wither up. It's not who I've ever been, and I will never be.
Oh, yeah.
So to have that as a really important thing that I express to people, men that I'm dating, is essential, because how would they know that about me if I don't tell them? Just because I live in the middle of a city doesn't mean I love it, right? That doesn't mean anything. I have to open my mouth and say.
Yes. So again, no mind reading is part of this conversation.
So when you see that you're not getting however many your big criteria are, and you aren't feeling your most authentic self, you're not feeling like you could be open and honest about what's going on with you, that's when, and you've really tried, you've talked with a professional, you've learned how to express yourself in a real clear, short sentences for men way about, this is what I'd really like, this is how I could be happier, is it something you could do? And they've said yes and tried and couldn't, or said no, they can't. Like, they couldn't live in the boonies if I wanted to. That's when you have to say goodbye. And it's wrenching. It's hard. It's heartbreaking. You think you're never going to have anybody else. You don't want to hurt their feelings, but not accepting somebody for who they are and feeling accepted for who you are is worse. It really is worse. And people don't always see that it's way worse to be in a bad relationship than people say, I'd much rather be in no relationship than a bad. I want them to throw in, but you could have a good one too. That's a third option. Please understand there's a third option.
Absolutely. In fact, that reminds me of there was a metaphor I remember talking when one of the seminars took many years ago about how we look at pain as being something where we want to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so, like the idea of taking off a Band-Aid, there's two ways of taking a Band-Aid off. It's either really fast and yank it off, or it's pulling it very slowly. And people think, well, taking it very slowly won't hurt as much. Well, it may not hurt as much each time, but things when you rip it off fast, it's gone in a split second.
Yeah.
If you rip it off slowly, it will be hurting a little bit for a long time.
Yeah.
And in a relationship, that's the thing, is like leaving and be clear why you're leaving and be clear that you're choosing to leave can be painful, but a lot less painful than dragging it out for months. Yeah.
And if one of the reasons you're staying is because you love them, even if they're not the right person for you, or you're not the right person for them, I mean, if they're not accepting you as you are and you're not accepting them as they are, you need to leave. And if you really love them, then please let them go find somebody that loves all of them.
Right.
If you don't love all of them, that's not fair.
No.
It's not fair. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. And when you've let them go, you've now made space for you to find somebody that you'll love all of them.
Absolutely.
Now, there's times, if anybody's been in any kind of length of relationship, there's times when you don't like them. You don't like their behavior. You don't like what they've said, whether it's because of you not having enough sleep or eating, or they do a jerky thing. I mean, all of us do jerky things. It's, we're human beings living inside of the same four walls. But it's not that. It's that it's that you're really having a clash, that it's really not a match, that you're not good for each other. In fact, you might be bad for each other, that it's essential that you let them go. You let them go.
Oh, it's the greatest gift in some ways you can give.
For both of you.
Absolutely. To free yourself up, to give, even though you think I'm giving something, I'm losing something, it's like what you're doing is you're giving up something that was occupying space that doesn't fit you anymore. Yeah. So there's a benefit by doing it and being willing to do that.
And if you can, I've helped couples break up. I've had couples stay together and I've had couples break up, which is so, the first time it happened, I was like, ooh, how's this going to be? But it was so rewarding because they parted friends and they were so able to bless the other person of, you know, we got some really good things that from each other. And it turns out either from the beginning, there were hard things or they did change.
Yeah.
One of them was an atheist and the other one was agnostic. And the guy was the atheist, but he had been a Christian Science raised and he went back. And she's like, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because he really wanted her to be part of it. If he would have just let her be on her own, but he said, this is so important to me and I want her to be included. And she goes, well, I just can't. And they ended up parting friends and they're still friends and they're with somebody else, both of them, that is back making them happy again.
That's
that was an interesting journey to observe and be part of. Wow.
So that's the thing, is like knowing what it is you really are about. Yeah. And also make sure they know what they're really about too, because it's both sides of the conversation.
Yeah, I know. Oh. So it's okay to leave.
Yeah.
It really is. It's best to leave when it's not the right thing, when it's not right for you or them or both of you.
Yeah, definitely. And unless you're being...
When my parents got divorced, we celebrated. We thought it was the best thing ever because it was so much better to live in a house where there wasn't fighting all the time.
Right. So, you know, basically be authentic, trust yourself, and choose for your highest value what you want to be, and hopefully your partner will too. And if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. It's
never the end of the world, even though it can feel like that for a short while.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're there. We'll help them buck up through it. We'll help them.
We'll catch them.
We promise. We're a very safe place for all those emotions to land.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I've really coached a number of people through their endings. I'm sure you have too, because it's hard and there's nothing easy about it. And you need to go through the emotions. However, the reason was, whether you ended it, they ended it, you did it together. There's just nothing ever easy about it.
And frankly, if you don't, the next relationship won't be as easy either. So that's again another topic. That's topic for 4 weeks away.
What did you learn by leaving a relationship, right? Yeah,
right.
That's a great topic.
Yeah.
Well, Cece's saying that we need to end to get, see, and as we started in the beginning, we never want to leave. We like to hang out with each other. This relationship's going to last for a long time.
Yep.
So if you're in a relationship and you're contemplating leaving, or you're wondering if you should leave, or you need to get over one that left you, then reach out to each of us. And the way to get a hold of me is my website is www.theperfectcatch.com. You can also write to me on my email, which is Christine@theperfectcatch. When you go to my website, you can click on the top of what's holding you back from love, and we can have a complimentary conversation about what's going on. If you're not finding love, or you're not feeling loved, or you're not feeling love for the other person, we would really need to have a conversation. And I'd forgotten to mention, you can also sign up for my newsletter, which goes out every other week. And you can also download a PDF that I have that's what's the 10 best and worst things to do on a first date. You can also find me on all the other social medias, Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest. And is that all of them?
YouTube.
I
was waiting for that.
Most of the time I forget one. Last week I remember them all, but Barry always remembers all of them because he's good at it.
I'm here to support you.
Thank you. Oh, you're a good support. Please tell people how they can reach you.
Certainly. And in the same offering, it's like if you're in a place where you're between relationships, or you're not sure how to start one, or you don't know how to end one, or if you're just clueless about the whole thing, I have lots of resources for you. So my website is my name, which is barryselby.com. And we'll say, oh yes, right on the navigation, there's lots of things you can choose from. My books on there, my coaching. I also have an email list you can join on the front page of my site. There's a free video series you can sign up for right there, and it puts you on my email list. You get emails from me every week. Also, there's a Let's Chat button at the top. You can click on that to have a conversation with me. You can fill out the form and we can chat and see if, one, where you really are in your life at the moment, and two, if we want to work together. Because it's not just about you working with me, it's about me wanting to work with you, because I'm very picky with my clients too, because I commit to my clients, so that's important. You can drop me an email if you want to at barry@barryselby.com. I'm available for speaking gigs, virtually for now, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And on social media, my name is my brand on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter, LinkedIn. On Instagram, it's The Real Barry Selby. And on Facebook, it's barryselby.author. And then also on, as I said, on Clubhouse, the name is Barry Selby there too. So,
you're catching my thing of not remembering everything. That's not the right order. It's supposed to be, I'm supposed to remember everything, right?
I think I did everything. Did I miss anything? You know what? Find me those places and I'll tell you where else you can find me.
Don't you miss talking in person? I really do. I mean, I love this, but the addition of talking in person, watching people's faces.
I had a picture show up my memories on Facebook from 2 or 3 years ago from the entryway to the spiritual center I go to on Sundays. I've been going to for 25 years, where I would hug 300-400 people every Sunday and see smiles and have conversations and all that sort of stuff. And it's funny because the picture is the place before we opened up to everybody. So it was an open, empty hall. And it's like, that feels like it is right now. It feels so void. And I miss that in-person connection, hugs, connection, and everything else. So once we're through this, I'm so going to catch up on that.
We have lots of hugs to catch up on in our lives, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you again. Always scintillating. Makes
Indeed.
me laugh every time. I appreciate it.
It's a fun thing.
See all of you again next Thursday, 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern, and all the other times in between.
We'll see you next week. It'll be fun.
Bye for now.
Bye.